Good evening, everyone. So it's the pleasant task of the International Society of ISM SICS Society to have the Nigeria chapter today and also with Sierra Leone. It's our pleasant task to tell a few words about Nigeria to all our Indian delegates and the rest of the delegates and the other parts of the world who is watching this webinar. So, as you all know, Nigeria has the fastest growing economy in the Africa and it has the highest GNP on the continent. So, Nigeria has the largest population on the continent and it's the third largest manufacturing sector. So, the country also has the largest agricultural output and the highest number of cattle. And definitely, it's a country of biodiversity and a lot of importance is being given to the culture as well. So, with this, I request our chairman of the founder chair of ISM SICS Society, none other than Dr. Amulya Sahu sir, who has put all his efforts to bring up this society to the international level. I request our founder chair, Dr. Amulya Sahu sir, to please say a few words.
I welcome to the Nigerian, Sierra Leone and other our friends to this conference, and it gives us a great pleasure that they have come forward to be a part of us. This journey is going to be memorable because Africa, we can do a lot there, and they are so willing to learn. It will be a wonderful give and take. We'll learn many things from them, and they will learn something from us. So I welcome you all. Thank you so much.
Now, thank you, Sahu sir, for those short and swift comments. Now, I would like to request Dr. Jagannath Boramani sir, the first person to do topical SICS in India. And for rest of the people here, for the Nigerian and for the Sierra Leone delegates and the office bearers, Dr. Sahu and Dr. Boramani are like the two eyes of the ISM SICS Society. So I request Dr. Jagannath Boramani sir to please say the journey of ISM SICS Society. Over to you, Boramani sir. Sir, you're muted, I guess.
Yeah,
Boramani
can you
sir?
hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Good evening, all of you. I welcome the office bearers of the Nigeria and Sierra Leone chapter of ISM SICS to this global organization. And I welcome all our attendees, the delegates, those who are in the audience, to this webinar of installation of Nigeria and Sierra Leone chapter of ISM SICS. Can you see my slides?
Yes, sir. We are able to see that.
Yeah. Now, this is a short talk about for those who are new to ISM SICS. To know, they should know what is this organization is all about. This is a
Yeah,
We are waiting. There's no problem.
no problem at all.
Is it back
Sir,
now?
sir, I'll request you one thing. I have your presentation. Okay, fine. We are good to go now. We can see your screen.
Okay. It doesn't matter if you can see me, you can see the screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, population-based surveys have shown us that SICS is actually a very cost-effective intervention for cataract in developing countries like Nigeria. And this is because we really need a high-volume, low-cost surgical techniques. And SICS has proven to be one technique that really could produce this. It is said to be safe. It is easy to learn. It is also affordable. These are based on population-based surveys that have been taking place over some time. And then it has also been shown that it can actually take care of the most advanced cataracts with a minimum complication rate and the shortest amount of time. RT does her surgeries in less than 5 minutes, I learned. So you see, in the shortest amount of time, you'll be able to achieve a lot with SICS. But despite all these good points, we still have challenges, especially in our country. And this is what I'm going to talk about. One of the first challenges I would like to discuss is the human resource availability. We do have a challenge of having appropriate human resources to deliver this SICS in Nigeria. And here, what I mean by human resources is just not only ophthalmologists, but actually ophthalmologists that can perform high volume SICS, and then having nurses also in the theater who can scrub for this high volume surgeries. I'm talking about their number. I'm talking also about distribution. Basically, what we do know is that there is a high concentration of ophthalmologists and highly skilled ophthalmic nurses in the urban areas. Now, despite that, there's because of this, there's an inequitable distribution of these human resources. Areas that are needed, where they're needed, they're not there. So this is really a very big challenge we really need to handle as far as SICS is concerned. We're talking about numbers, and then we are talking of their distribution. The other question to ask, actually, this is a rhetorical one. It's a challenge for us. Is manual small incision cataract surgery really affordable in Nigeria? Is it really a low-cost technology for us? The question is, if you say it's affordable, the average cost in a public hospital is roughly about $70. That's in public hospital. In private hospital, you can go between $200 to $250. And that's really quite high for a developing country like ours. Now, government and non-governmental organizations have increased funding towards this cataract intervention. But the question is this sustainable? Is this going to continue like this? And one of the key things that we do know that affects this affordability is the consumable supply. We really need a regular consumable supply, crescent knives, the dyes, the viscoelastic materials, the oils. Now, these are said to be what makes SICS cheaper, less expensive than phaco. But in Nigeria, these consumables need to be imported. They are not locally produced. And therefore, the costs, talking about the direct cost only to the patients, is actually really high. And because of this, it's actually a very big challenge. And you can see on my slide, power source is one of the challenges I talk about. And I mentioned, I wrote it earlier, and you can see that really, as I started the presentation, the light went off. And it's a challenge. For us, this will increase the cost, direct cost to the patient. When you're talking about SICS. So you really need to ask the question about its affordability in the country. The other challenge I'll quickly talk about is about outcome issues. What we do know from, again, population-based surveys is that we have really a gross variation in the reported presenting visual acuities and the best corrected visual acuities in post-operated patients. Now, what happens basically, because what explains this variation mainly is because when biometries are done, desirable IOLs are not available. Really, you do a biometry, sometimes you don't get the desirable IOLs, and when you are doing a high volume surgeries, you just get IOLs that are close by, and then you get this gross disparity between your presenting visual acuity and best corrected visual acuity. And when you don't have biometry, in the absence of biometry, what determines the power for you to use? And this will actually, we know that this will lead to not having desirable IOLs. Then the other outcome issues that really we need to talk about have been documented in surveys. The issue of having high poor outcomes beyond that WHO recommended 5%. Now, this basically what has been reported here in many articles has to do with sojourn's factor. And this is where I think this society will really help go a long way in addressing this challenge. The other challenge quickly is about service delivery issue. What pattern, what approach do we take to tackle cataract backlogs in the surgical outreach or camps approach, or the base hospital, if you don't have base hospital? I think basically in Nigeria, we're combining the two. The two are being combined in several proportions, but it's good for us to look at this as a challenge. And the base hospitals, because the like what I mentioned before, the funding by the NGOs basically supports more of the surgical outreaches and camps than base hospital surgeries. So you see more numbers, more uptake of cataract surgeries in the surgical outreach and camps. And then basically it's also about the barriers that has been documented over time, repeatedly overflogged cost, direct cost to the patient. But we do know, even when you remove the issue of cost, when you remove the barrier of cost, it's not everybody that will take the surgery. So our approach, our cataract surgical service delivery, actually, I think we need to look at how this service is being delivered, both in the surgical outreach and in the base hospital. I think this will really help us overcome this challenge. What do I recommend? One, local production of consumables. I think well, pharmaceutical companies, we may need to learn from our international colleagues how they went about this production of consumables, and that's why this collaboration will really help us. IOS, viscose, crescent knives, all the consumables. I sincerely believe if they are locally produced, the issue of cost affordability will really be reduced. Training, I think I'll dwell some more on this training. We really need to have training centers specifically addressing this SICS. Now, one challenge with training, if having these simulators really will help, because I mean, people who don't want to have poor outcomes because of training. You don't want to. You want people to have been stable with the simulators before going on live patients. And there has been this SimOscar that has been modified and approved by experts for use in simulation-based trainings. And I think it will be quite handy for the ISMCS to make this available to people to get to train. Then there's this also simulator. I think during the earlier presentation, we saw the Help Me See MICS simulator in New York. I think this will really help us in training. The other thing I feel will help us in terms, especially in terms of outcome, is regular audit and monitoring. And this tool, the cataract surgical by the WHO, it's quite handy and helpful. It will help everyone you want to do an audit for your system, for your hospital. It will tell you where the problems are and where you need to improve. I think we need to look at that. And then for our research recommendation, what surgical technique actually is best suited? I mean, yeah, I know the researchers that talked about scleral incision, talking about chevron or frown, which one is best? I mean, I know it would be good to know which one is best suited for us. I know we look at what has been done before, but it's good to have, let's look at, and then even the, just use these two examples, the capsular opening techniques, the type of cataracts we do have, the capsular opening will technically be best suited for us. Actually, I think the approach, like I mentioned earlier, the approach to cataract surgery service delivery system. These are areas that can go into research and see which one best suits us. These are my I sincerely thank you for your time, for listening to this. Dr. Ati, I think I'm on time.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. That was actually a very good idea you gave us about the practice of SICS in Nigeria. So before we move on to the discussion, I just want Mr. Rahul and Mr. Raman, I have been getting comments that the Facebook audio is not working and probably there is some issue. So I've got this message from Nigeria as well as Indian audience. So please check into it. Dr. Sahu sir, over to you for your comments.
Dr. Adamu, it was an interesting presentation from you. And we have a lot, we can interact a lot. And Aarti will be our coordinating person. And please, we see a lot of opportunity for interaction. Every details about instrument, training, and everything we can discuss and find out a long-term plan to improve the standard there. And we can also think of exchange programs and start training program there. All these possibilities are there. So Aarti will be dealing with you and take it forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for your comments. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Sahu sir. Bonamani sir, would you like to comment? I'm sure few of his points will be covered in your talk as well about which incision to take. But would you like to make any comment?
Yes, there are so many challenges and problems, but I think ISMSIC's central team as well as the Nigeria team can join hands and try to rectify most of the challenges. We'll work together and we'll see that the future journey is smooth one. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So moving on to our next talk. Next we have with us Dr. M.S. Ravindra sir, who needs no introduction. He is an excellent teacher. He is an excellent surgeon. And I'm sure he will make the evening very bright with his wonderful videos. Over to you, sir, for your presentation.
Good evening, the team leaders in India, Dr. Sahu, Dr. Boramani, Dr. All the colleagues, our president, Dr. Debashish, and the new friends from Nigeria. I would, convey my greetings to you, and we will certainly handhold wherever the deficits are there. I was feeling that we were so lucky that all the excellent manufacturing companies today are in India. One of the best products for the entire world are being made in India. I'll show some of the instruments, and including IOLs, the best IOLs in the world are made in India, the best crescents, best knives. I mean, there are industries, hundreds of industries, which can really support your needs at this point of time. I would like to present a couple of videos. You can ask me to stop at any time, doctor. This is a case where the cataract is very mature. I'm sitting on the temporal side. What I'll do initially, this is under topical anesthesia. I'll show you how I do the topical anesthesia. We use proparacaine drops as well as some sponges which is dipped in proparacaine placed in the site of incision. That's the temporal side. I've got a Westcote scissors on my right hand. This is a very good quality 1:2.2 millimeter teeth forceps, which holds the conjunctiva and tenons together. I'm making an incision in the upper temporal quadrant because that's the steep axis. Upper temporal quadrant has got the steep axis in the cornea. I wish to correct some amount of astigmatism. That's a marker which I've developed, which measures 6 millimeters. It creates 2 points there, and I'm putting a straight incision of the sclera. I'm using a thermal cautery, not a wired cautery. It's a very simple, low-cost cautery. And this is a short length blade. I mean, it doesn't touch the lid at all, as you can see here, because lids are not anesthetized. There is no block given. So you'll have to choose a knife which is just adequately long enough to create a nice rectangular or trapezoid incision, depending upon whether you're breaking it. That's a 5.2 millimeter keratome, which makes a very tiny incision initially. Initially, incision inner lip is just about a millimeter. I'm injecting air followed by trypan blue. I'm aspirating the trypan blue. I'm not pushing viscoelastic because sometimes trypan blue can go through the zonules and get into the vitreous cavity. I have entered the AC through a puncture in the floor of the tunnel, and that keeps the viscoelastic in the eye. I'm trying to make a smaller rhexis initially because there is an upthrust from the lenticular bag, and I'm going to complete it now and going to extend it to make it larger. I mean, in phaco, we always aim for 5 millimeter or 4.5 or 5.5. CCC in SICS, we have the comfort of taking a very large rhexis. It depends upon your techniques, whether you can would like to take a large rhexis. Large rhexis always advantageous. Don't go with the impression that we'll have to mimic what happens in phacoemulsification, where when you have a large rhexis, you can't handle it efficiently. Here, large rhexis always is an advantage. I'm trying to debulk the contents of the capsular by aspirating using a Simcoe cannula and bulb. I'll rotate the nucleus now, and all the loose cortex that is in front of the nucleus is, as you can see here, is aspirated into the Simcoe cannula. Simcoe cannula has got a gentle curve and it's extremely good in doing it. I'm extending it now using a cystitome. As you can see here, I'll have a small runoff here. In spite of it, I'm going to manage it. I'm holding it now with Utrata forceps. Now, carelessness, it goes to the periphery. When it goes to periphery, do not try to pull it out. There are various techniques of pulling it out, and at some point of time, we may pull it out and the tear can extend. Always comfortably make a small nick, let the runoff be there, and then you can complete the rhexis. Now, very easily, I can rotate the nucleus into the anterior capsule and the anterior chamber. There are two ways now. Either the entire nucleus can be taken out. For that, you'll have to have a trapezoid. I'm going to mark here. That's the outer one. Trapezoid tunnels go like that to the periphery. Internal lip is larger to accommodate the nucleus, and it comes back. Trapezoid shape. If you have a trapezoid shaped tunnel or the side pockets, that otherwise it's called, you can remove the nucleus without bisecting it. Here I'm going to bisect it, and then with a cystitome itself you can bisect it, but cystitome needs to be continuously injecting visco into the anterior chamber. Otherwise you'll have enormous amount of damage to endothelium, which you'll have to prevent it. Then the nucleus is taken out, sliding on a vectis. It's a very easy technique, and after that is a high myopic patient, as you can see from the red reflex. You have to remove the entire cortex because cortex is immunogenic. It causes inflammation in the eye. So you need to remove the cortex completely by the aspiration. So I use a reverse Simcoe cannula to aspirate the cortex from the capsular bag. Then you put the lens, and that's the end of the surgery. There's no need to suture this wound because you're not stretched it or heated it. So that's a lens which can go because it's a 6 millimeter tunnel. You don't have to fold it. Unfolded lens can be easily implanted in the capsular bag. Ensure that the lens goes into the capsular bag. I'll show another modern video that the current practice of mine. So now I'm not taking a conjunctiva tenons flap and I'm making a direct incision. I'm sitting on the temporal side. There's a 2.8 millimeter keratome. I fill the chamber with viscoelastic tunnel floor entry technique. There are a lot of videos on phacosuction on YouTube. You can always watch them. And I'm going to do comfortably a good rhexis. This is again done under topical anesthesia. I'll run through a little faster and then do a hydrodissection. That's it. As you can see here, now I'll just go slow. I'll go back. This is a very important technique. I'll just go back. So I'm just extending the inner lip laterally so that the endothelial damage doesn't happen when you remove the nucleus. Hydrodissection, single point hydrodissection, rotate the nucleus in the capsular bag, and I'm aspirating some amount of loose cortex that's generated in front of the nucleus. And with a sustainer, you can break the nucleus into two pieces. That's a sustainer. I'm pulling the nucleus down slightly. Through the cystotome, I'm bisecting it in the capsular bag. So the nucleus is broken into two pieces within the capsular bag, and it becomes easy to remove it out of the pupil, the rhexis. Then I'm going to hold it with a mini vectis. It's already cut there. I'm going to slide it out, supported by a cannula in front, 25 gauge cannula, which is continuously injecting viscoelastic, as you can see here. It's very friendly to the endothelium, and as you are injecting viscoelastic continuously, the other half also is removed. I'll go a little fast. Cortical aspiration, and you can put any lens that you of choice. This kind of tunnel produces about half diopter of SIA. That is a comparison between the preoperative, measurements of the keratometry and postoperative. Half is what it generates. So it's very friendly to the eye. Okay. I'll just show another very quick video. I'll show this is the one, and this is not expensive. The BSS Go is loaded into a silicon bulb. I'm injecting it. So the amount of fluid that goes inside is controlled by your pressure on the silicon bulb, and aspiration is also done, and both infusion and aspiration is controlled by your visual feedback, as you see under microscope. You can double irrigate it by pressing this fluid back into the eye and pressing this also into the eye. So this is a very friendly comparison, which is comparable to the high-end phaco machine, because amount of fluid that goes inside, amount of vacuum, both are in good control. One other small technique I would like to show you. We are all familiar with scleral fixated IOLs. There is an alternative. This is an Indian-made iris fixation lens, which can be enclaved to the back of the iris, as you can see here. It's a very quick technique, and there is a slit there, and the cannula goes inside and pushes iris into the slit, and this lens sits on the back of the iris, and whenever there is a break in the hyaloidal phase, and you can do a vitrectomy and employ this technique. I'll just take another minute's time.
Yes, sir.
Posterior subcapsular cataract can also be very nicely handled. There is no higher risk of posterior capsular tear. As you can see here, I've done a rhexis. I'll go fast. Remove the nucleus, and posterior capsule is intact. The chance of breaking of the posterior capsule in spite of a pre-existing posterior subcapsular or capsular opacification is very, very rare. As you can see here, this is an Indian-made multifocal lens. It's a beautiful lens, which gives both distance and near vision, and it can be implanted. And I'm putting in a tunnel in the upper temporal quadrant here, because the steep axis, about half diopter of steep axis, can be neutralized by the tunnel incision. That's a PSCC, as you can see. You can, in this technique of SICS, you can comfortably do a segmental hydrodissection without a risk of tearing it, because the entire surgery is done under normal pressure. There is no high pressure in the anterior chamber, which pushes the capsule backwards and stretches it, and there's a possibility of a tear. Here, very gentle. The pressure is atmospheric pressure. You do this and then remove it and put a lens there. So that's a multifocal lens again. Yeah, this is the last one. I would like to tell that topical anesthesia is possible, but there is a law, as Dr. Boramani has introduced this technique to us, and initially shift from retrobulbar or parabulbar to subtenons, inject only 1 or 2 millimeters in subtenon injection, make a small nick in the lower nasal quadrant, about 8 millimeters away from it, through conjunctive antenons, and through a tiny blunt cannula, you can push about 2 ml of xylocaine. That's good enough. But later you can promote yourself. What I'm doing is, that's a cornea. You put I put a small amount of cotton there and soak it with paracaine. Keep it at the place where we're going to hold the eye with the forceps, and at the place where you're going to clear the tunnel. And in the eye, inside the eye, inject about 0.1 or 0.2 ml of the 1% lignocaine. That gives an excellent anesthesia. So that's the end of my presentation. I'll be happy to contribute my whatever help that the Nigerian friends need on a long-term basis. All the doctors of ISMS, SICS in India will be very glad to cooperate and extend our help to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I am sure we all were enjoying that show on our screens. Sir is an excellent surgeon and an excellent teacher, as I told before. So we have with us Dr. Mustafa Bajure from Nigeria. So, sir, would you like to comment?
Well, thank you for the presentation. It has been a wonderful session of good surgeries out there. And I think we in Nigeria, we don't have access to multifocal lenses available maybe to every person, maybe except on demand. And if there are affordable lenses, multifocal, as you mentioned, iris color lenses, I think it will go a long way in helping our patients to restore vision. So thank you for the discussion.
Thank you.
We have with us Dr. Williams from Sierra Leone. Dr. Williams, who is actually secretary of the Sierra Leone chapter. Would you like to comment, or you have any question? Dr. Jalika, if you are around. Okay, so I think we'll keep the discussion for the end. We move on to our third talk. I invite Dr. John Matia from Sierra Leone. He's going to talk to us about the capsulotomy in Sierra Leone. Over to you, Dr. John.
Good evening and good afternoon to you all.
Yes, good afternoon. You can start your screen share.
So my presentation is on continuous curvilinear capsulorhexis. It is relatively a new technique in Sierra Leone. I hope you're getting me. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Your screen is visible. We are good to go. You can continue.
Yeah, please make it full screen, slideshow.
This is the gold standard for modern cataract surgery. It was jointly invented by Dr. Howard Gimbel and Thomas Newhan in 1985. Usually the ideal size is between 5.5 millimeter to 6 millimeter in order to make sure that the capsular rim covers the optic of the lens. It has a steep learning curve. Instruments that are normally used either singly or in combination are cystotomy, Utrata, and or 23 gauge microcapsulorhexis forceps. It needs a fully dilated pupil. Coaxial light is also needed for good red reflex, but in cases where you have mature or hypermature cataracts where there is no red reflex, you need to use a trypan blue. It is initiated by making a flip, making a flap and flipping it over. And then you can either do a push or pull of the flap, either in a clockwise or counterclockwise direction. Then you should usually maintain circumferential forces. There are certain rules to follow. If they are followed, then you will usually have a successful CCC. One is to make sure that your AC is always dipping with a viscoelastic. If you are using forceps, you should hold the flap near the tearing edge, and you should frequently regrasp the flap and bring the flap to the center. Do not press on the posterior lip, otherwise your OVD will egress and make the AC shallow. The advantages are that it resists radial tears. It enhances proper hydrodissection, and it helps to make fecal emancipation safer because it stabilizes the lens nucleus in the capsular bag where fecal procedure can be performed. It is essential for irrigation and aspiration, and it is good for proper centration of the lens into the capsular bag. And there is some thought that it may reduce the incidence of posterior capsular opacification because it has direct contact and is firmly attached to the posterior capsule. In certain special situations, you may have to use certain steps in order to have a successful CCC. Like in hypermature cataract, you may either use a 3-stage technique or you do an initial puncture, and then thereafter you can continue to your CCC. In the 3-stage technique, you first use a mini capsulorhexis, as previously shown to us by our previous speaker, and you decompress the lens bag, and then you can enlarge the capsulorhexis. Or as I said previously, you can also do initial puncture, you decompress the lens bag before you continue your CCC. Congenital cataract cases are usually they are difficult. They are notoriously difficult due to the fact that the elastic capsule tends to extend, and also there's a posterior vitreous pressure. But CCC needs to be done because this is the heart of the pediatric cataract surgery. So you need to use a high molecular weight viscoelastic and then carefully follow the rules of the CCC. You have to usually aim for a slightly smaller capsulotomy. Now I have a video that I'll show of some cases that I did last week. So in this case, I'm using a cystotome, and I'm pushing, make an initial tear.
Dr. John, sorry for the interruption. We can't see your video. Maybe you'll have to close your presentation.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. Is it visible now?
Yes, it's visible.
So what I usually do is to go counterclockwise, and I usually use a cystotome to flip over the flap and then maintain circumferential pulse. And at certain points, I have to use viscoelastic when I notice that the AC is getting shallower. And most times also at the end of it, I may need to use a uterata forceps. Here I'm using the uterata forceps. So most of my cases are stained with trypan blue, like in this case of mature cataract, hypermature cataract. So this last case. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. John. Let me congratulate you for those wonderful videos. I just wanted to find out how easy it is to get trypan blue in Sierra Leone.
How? Come again, please.
How easy it is to get trypan blue? How's the availability of the dye? Mr. Rahul, you can hit screen share. I think he was not able to do it. Yes, Dr.
We usually get a trypan blue from India. Most of the products we use are from India, from Orolab.
Okay. So, Dr. Buramani sir, would you like to comment?
He has shown wonderful technique. I want to comment one thing, like many times we are stuck up when the capsule starts going to peri-peri. Now, it creates more tension for a phaco surgeon than an SICS surgeon, but it is always better to bring a peripherally going capsular axis to the center. There are various techniques described, but I want to stress one more technique, which is perhaps new to many. It is a simpler technique. The capsular axis starts going to peri-peri mainly because of the tension in the zonules and which creates a centrifugal force. So whatever force you are applying, you are not going circumferentially. Actually, you are trying to bring the capsule in the center, and plus there is a centrifugal force, and as a resultant, our capsular axis is going in a tangential direction. But sometimes the centrifugal force is more, and the capsular axis starts going to the peri-peri. So in such case, the region where it is going in the peri-peri, it is better to depress the region of the ciliary body with any blunt instrument like a closed forceps or a lens hook. So if you depress the globe at the region of the ciliary body, it causes relaxation of the zonules, and then it is comparatively easy to bring the peripherally going capsule axis to the center. This, I wanted to give this a simple tip. You can try in your next case also whenever this thing happens.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Sahu sir, would you like to comment?
I was just seeing the video. What is the forceps is doing there? When you are doing the axis, the forceps is all the time moving there. Is it got any kind of significance, or it was just you have forgotten to take care of that? Dr. John?
Yes, sir.
Your forceps was moving there. If you are doing some
The
work
forceps.
or forceps. When you're in your video,
The forceps, yes, the forceps is usual to stabilize the globe.
No, but it was not
to stabilize
stabilizing, it was moving there.
Yes,
So
well, my plan was to stabilize it, but I think it was just hanging down there.
Otherwise,
Yes, I also noticed that.
but otherwise, your video was good, and you have taken up challenging cases and done a good job there. But I was just thinking what this magic is doing with this forceps there. It happens to everybody. Don't worry.
That's a good one.
It happens just once you don't notice that now you are busy doing the axis, so you forgot your left hand. It happens to all of us. Don't worry. I just brought to your notice so that it is a fun. Next time you realize this. It happens.
Next time I'll take it out of the way.
Okay.
So thank you everyone for that wonderful discussion. From the academic talk, let's move on to our next talk, which is again the about challenges of training in Nigeria when it comes to MSICS. So I would like to invite Dr. Umar for his talk. Over to you, Dr. Umar.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can I have my slides shared?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I want to say that it's a great pleasure meeting these wonderful surgeons. I have learned a lot, and I believe there's a lot for us to learn from India. Now, let me have the next slide. Yes. Now, we all know that Nigeria is a country of about 200 million population. And more than 10 years ago, there was this National Blindness and Low Vision Survey that established that cataract is responsible for more than 43% of blindness in persons who are 40 years and above. And if you that is telling you about roughly 8 million persons who are 40 years and above, because 20% of the population are 40 years and above, are roughly having blindness from cataract. So there's a lot of work to do in Nigeria. Let's have the next slide. Now, just by way of remember, we know that the word cataract is a Greek word that meant water.
So I think we see the another challenge about the network. Dr. Umar, can you hear us? Looks like we have lost him due to connection issues.
Yes, next slide, please. Yes. My internet is unstable here. The network is unstable. Can I have the next slide, please? Next slide.
Dr. Umar, can you see the slide?
Can you hear me, please? Hello?
Yes, Dr. Umar, can
Hello?
you see? This is your next slide.
Can I have the next slide?
Can you, Dr. Umar?
Hello?
Dr. Umar, can you hear me?
Yes, it's my internet. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I can. I can. Yes.
Yes.
And we all know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. In as far back as 29 AD, there was evidence of some instruments that were used for cataract surgeries in Greece and Egypt. And this is just to go back a little to history. And we all know that couching has been the old method of surgery. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, in fact, just behind National Eye Center, Kaduna, people still do couching. People still couch. In fact, in the National Blindness and Low Vision Survey that was conducted in Nigeria, quite a number of persons who had cataract surgery was from couching. So couching is still being done in Nigeria, despite years of modern surgery. Let's have the next slide. Next slide, please. Yes. And of course, the Hindus, in the earliest evidence of cataract surgery, was backdated in the 5th century. There was evidence that the Hindus were conducting some of these cataract surgeries. And so let's go to the next slide. This is just a background before we move to the challenges. Now, and this is just to show a calligraphy to show what was happening before. I mean, without anesthesia, people were, people carry out these surgeries. And I told you, unfortunately, these surgeries are still happening in Nigeria. Couching. Let's have the next slide. Now, in Nigeria, one of the first hospitals, the first eye hospital in Nigeria was in Kano, a dedicated hospital for eye care in Nigeria. And that was built in 1943. And then from ECWA stands for Evangelical Churches of West African Communities. And today the hospital still stands and they get patients from all over the country. The National Eye Center was commissioned in 1991. Today is the only mono-speciality eye hospital in Nigeria. And of course, the University College Hospital Ibadan, which was the first tertiary hospital in Nigeria, also when the Department of Ophthalmology came into being. Now, these three hospitals contributed a lot in the training and retraining, and of course, acquiring of skills for small incision cataract surgery in Nigeria. Although majority, as we'll see later, had to travel to India to acquire the skills, especially for IOL implantation. Let's have the next slide. Now, this is the premises of National Eye Center, a very beautiful center. And okay, so let's have the next slide. Now, like you all know, in the early 90s, the most popular procedure for cataract surgery was ICCE in Nigeria. We didn't meet ICCE during our training, but our serious met. It's just historical. I have never watched ICCE being done. But what we met was ECCE and posterior chamber IOL. We must have to thank India, because before the Arabian, breakthrough, Nigeria, people were doing ECCE, but lenses were not implanted because the lenses were not even affordable until Arabic and other companies in India were able to come up with low-cost lenses, and now it's readily available in Nigeria and other parts of the developing countries. Now, the manual small incision cataract surgery initially was not too popular. Majority were doing ECCE, but later became popular. As you see in the next slide, let's have the next slide. Let's have the next slide. Now, like I said earlier, the trainings for manual small incision cataract surgery, initially, our seniors had to go to India to acquire some of these skills. Now, those of them that learned in India came back, especially in eye center. I know a very senior doctor like Dr. Adejo, who was formerly the chief medical director of National Eye Center, went to India for the microsurgery, and ophthalmologists all over the country had to come to National Eye Center for training on IOL implantation. And then even faith-based and some tertiary health institutions later had took on over. And as we speak now, very few Nigerians travel out to acquire skills for manual small incision cataract surgery. Most of the surgeries are done at base and then in-house training. Let's have the next slide. Now, for what we do in Nigeria is residency training. And we have these two colleges, the West African College of Surgeons and then the National Postgraduate Medical College of Surgeons. Usually, a doctor spends about average of 5 to 6 years to become a fellow. Of recent, the West African College of Surgeons introduced what they call membership. Before now, they had a program called Diploma in Ophthalmology. It was only 2 years. And that diploma was meant to train persons who will remain in secondary centers where the patients are, so that the fellows, are largely populated in tertiary centers. But unfortunately, with time, majority of these diplomates had to undergo fellowship. And so the primary purpose for which the diploma was set was not being met. So the College of Recent came up with membership. And the membership, you spend 3 years to become a member of the American College of Ophthalmology, the structured program, and they just started. We're hoping that soon they'll be graduates of the membership. Now, these two colleges set up, when you're training, there are a number of surgeries you have to do from, in the first 2-3 years. And then these surgeries from observation to assisted surgery and then to performing these surgeries alone. Now, at the end of the 2-3 years, you are, you're assigned to, attend the exams. If you are successful, then you now continue as a senior registrar. Now, I know that in India, as Bangladesh and other parts of the Asia, the training are separated. The first 2 years or thereabout, it's not centered towards skill. It's more of academic. And when you graduate and you decide to take a particular area, for the
Dr. Umar, I think we have the connection issue again from your end. So let's wait for a couple of minutes for him to get a good network again. I think he has logged out of the meeting. So till that time, we can take some comments from the other office bearers of Nigeria.
Yes, carry on.
So we have with us Dr. Sule, Ibrahim Sule, sir.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Trying to get to Dr. Umar. I can't get him on the phone actually to hear whether he can.
Yeah. So we, Dr. Boramani sir, what do you suggest we move on with your talk?
No problem. Once he joins, he can talk again on the remaining
Yes,
slides.
I am sure he had a couple of more slides.
Yes, yes.
That's it.
Yeah, no problem.
So yes. So sorry for the inconvenience. I'm sure Dr. Umar will join us soon.
No, hello.
Yes, I think.
Hello?
Yes, Dr. Umar.
Yeah, he's joining.
Yes, no.
Yes, he
Yes,
has
I
joined.
have a better internet. Yeah.
You have a
I
better
have a
internet.
better network.
Yeah. So just
Sure.
give me a second. I share this screen again.
I'm sorry for that.
So you can carry on, Dr. Umar.
Yes. I can't see the screen. Good, good. Now let me have the next slide. Yes. Sorry, I'm sorry for that. I had to change my internet.
Don't worry, we all must have faced that problem at least once in our life, so you don't have to be sorry. We can continue, sir.
Yeah. Let's have the next slide, please.
Yes.
Yeah. Let me have the next slide. Now, what we basically do is, sorry, the previous one before this, good. Now, there are two studies that confirmed in 2011, Professor Onwosu, okay, yeah, here. Now, training in manual small incision cataract surgery, basically in Nigeria, take place in the supportive supervision, based surgeries when you are conducted during the residency training, and then rural postings too. As part of it's mandatory in the college for you to, as a senior registrar, you have to go and spend 3 months in the rural postings. And usually your consultants go there to supervise you. And then most of the time, after acquiring some basic skills at base, you now go there, spend 3 months, and then most residents are able to do supervised surgeries. Usually the rural postings take place in centers of high volume surgery, or otherwise you now organize some outreaches so that you pull in patients and your consultant comes to support you. Now, apart from that, there are also a number of outreaches taking place, especially in northern Nigeria. These outreaches are supported by NGOs like Sight Savers International, and residents who have already acquired some basic skills are given the opportunity to attend these outreaches to be able to fine-tune their skills. There are also eye camps. But the challenge with eye camps is one of, you just do the surgery And so the follow-ups are usually very poor. But for outreaches, which we encourage now, you do the outreach and then you go back for follow-ups. And usually, when you leave the outreach centers, you have ophthalmic nurses there as a minimum who will be able to carry on with the follow-up. So outreaches are more encouraged than ICAMs, but some ICAMs are also happening. And then the quality of these outreaches are also being improved. Before now, biometrics are hardly done, but now biometrics are done in some selected outreaches, but we still have quite a number of outreaches that no biometrics are done. But generally, these are the best surgeries, rural postings, and outreaches are avenues for our residents to acquire skills in small incision cataract surgery. In fact, before now, when we started residency training, we had to start with ECC, but our residents now don't do ECC at all. They just start with outreaches, so their skills for suturing are improved. Let me have the next slide. Next slide. Yeah, next slide. Next slide.
Can you see it
Yeah.
now?
Yes, I can. Now, this is just to buttress the fact that in 2011, a survey conducted among ophthalmologists. We have our own society, we call it the Ophthalmological Society of Nigeria. Professor Onwosu, surveyed ophthalmologists in the technique that was popular as of 2011, and it confirmed that ECCE plus, posterior chamber was the commonest cataract surgical technique. But in 2017, I was part of this paper. We also surveyed the same ophthalmologists, and we found out that, small incision cataract surgery is the commonest. So as we speak in Nigeria, the average ophthalmologist is able to perform manual small incision cataract surgery, albeit at varying levels of skills. Sorry, I'll soon write up on next slide. Next slide. Let's have the next slide. Next slide.
Can you see it? I have maybe because of the connection issue.
Yes. Yes. So I'll soon round up. Now we still have a number of challenges in terms of the major challenges are to do with inadequate surgical exposure, and this inadequate surgical exposure is related to the volume, the number of patients. You find out that in most of our tertiary institutions where training takes place, very few patients, few cataract surgeries are taking place. Most of the cataract surgeries are taking place in secondary centers, while training are taking place. Resident doctors are being trained in tertiary institutions. So this is a major challenge. Secondly, the issue of affordability. Majority of the patients, like Dr. Adamu observed in his presentation, majority of the patients can't afford this surgery. Talking about $100, for example, to afford cataract surgery. So the resident doctors do not have enough, exposure surgically, and so most persons graduate as ophthalmologists, but they barely can perform, very, good cataract surgery, manual small incision cataract surgery with good outcomes. So this is still a challenge. Some residents after graduating had to go to other hospitals, spend 1 or 2 years, some months, to be able to improve their skills. Also, the fact that our health insurance scheme, as we speak, is limited. Only the formal sector, people who are working with federal government, can access health insurance scheme. Cataract surgery is covered under the health insurance scheme, but very negligible population of Nigerians are working with government. And then, so majority have to pay out of pocket. And apart from that too, the issue of maldistribution of ophthalmic personnel. So all these are added to the challenge, because like in terms of the choice of site for cataract surgery, here we just choose to go temporarily when probably somebody had trabeculectomy. When temporary is supposed to manage some degree of astigmatism, we will need some training and retraining in that area, so that our choice of locating our wound, whether superiorly or inferiorly, vis-a-vis trying to take care of astigmatism. This is not happening popularly in Nigeria. So these are all areas that we need. I'm sure this collaboration will assist us in improving our skills. So I guess this is the last slide. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Umar, for that wonderful presentation. You have given us a very good idea about the training and the challenges and your expectations from the organization. So Dr. Sahu sir, would you like to comment?
We see a lot of opportunity, and ISMSIS is definitely going to help them in every way possible. So we will design a training program, and we will see that people are brought to India and trained properly, or we can go there and train your people. And one thing I'll be requesting, we don't know how the officials work there, how things are working, and Arti will be your link person. All of you who are interested in improving the cataract surgery in those part of the country, so please be in touch with them, and we'll design a total program so that you become among the best eye surgeons. That will be our goal. Okay, we will back you all the way.
Very much.
Thank you, Sahu sir, for that reassurance. Boramani sir, would you like to give us an idea about the Global SICS program, which we will be starting soon? So that he has mentioned that they would like to know how to manage astigmatism, how to do trabeculectomy and a combined surgery along with SICS. So Boramani sir, if you can give us the idea about the teaching program so that they can be hopeful for it.
Yeah, Global SSS program is a well-designed program wherein it will be in a tutorial and video form, and all ISM SICS members can have a free access to that program. And the talks will start from the basics of SICS to advanced SICS. So all the things like SICS with trabeculectomy or astigmatism management, SICS with premium IOLs, all the talks will be covered by experts, and every month for the students we'll have an interactive live session with the faculty. So the dates and everything will be announced. So wherein the questions and answers will be discussed. So this is a fantastic program. Only thing is that there are about say 140 talks being prepared, and this preparation is taking a lot of time because all the talks have to come to be, the presentations have to be in one uniform format. But I think within 1 month or maximum 2 months, we will be ready with the program, and we'll have a grand launching of the program across the globe. And this will be very good for all the beginners as well as the experts in SICS. Thank you.
So Dr. Umar, let me just remind you quickly that I will request that your students, all of you all should take the membership of the organization so that you can assess these programs. We have kind of some scheme going on for our non-Indian friends. So I'll share the details about that with you soon. So without further delay, let me just invite Dr. Boramani sir, who needs no introduction. Let me just tell you all that he was the first person to start the topical SICS in the country. So over to you, sir, for your presentation.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
And you can see my slide also in the full screen mode, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good. So again, good evening and good afternoon to all our friends, and let us welcome all our office bearers of the Nigerian and Sierra Leone country. First of all, let me thank Dr. Arti also for nicely coordinating, because she is roping in one by one all the African countries and bringing them into the ISMSICS stream. Dr. Arti has also told me that your talk has to be a basic one. So I've selected the basic talk on the principles of wound constructions. So I'm sorry if some of you experts feel that it is a very basic talk. This is mainly meant for the PGs and those who are learning SICS. So the SICS incision will have a trapdoor effect. Imagine two rubber balls which are snugly fit into each other. If there is a cut on the outer ball at one place, and if there is another cut in the inner ball at another place, naturally, even if there is a connection between these two, the internal part of the ball, the inner ball, acts as a wall, and nothing is allowed to escape out. So this is the principle how the scleral tunnel wound is constructed. So whenever your instruments are in or when the lens is going in, the wound opens. But when the instruments are not there, again the wound closes on its own. This is the principle of scleral tunnel. There are various types of the incisions. It can be there is the external incision little away from the limbus. Then there is a scleral tunnel dissected, and there is an internal incision. These are the instruments which are used for making the scleral tunnel. You can have an initial groove using scalpel blade, then the dissection of the tunnel with a crescent knife, entry into the entry chamber using a keraton knife, and you can have a side port with an MVR blade. The incision can be a straight one, or it can be parallel to limbus, or it can be in the opposite direction. If the incision is parallel to the limbus, definitely the ends of the incisions are closer to the limbus, and there will be more gaping of the wound, and this will induce more astigmatism. If you make the incision a straight one, the gaping will be comparatively less, and the astigmatism induced will be less. But if the incision is a reverse way, the reverse curved way, the gaping or the stretching of the outer and inner lip is less, and astigmatism induced is comparatively less. All of you are aware of the principle of incisional funnel. The closer you are to the limbus, you have to take a small incision, but you can go farther away from the limbus and have a liberty of taking bigger and bigger incision, because the induced astigmatism by all these incision will be same, because for a larger incision you are going away from the optical axis. The Fron incision is a curved, most popular incision, a curved incision designed by Jack Singer. You have the liberty of extending the incisions in the periphery without inducing more astigmatism. And the chevron incision is a inverted V-shaped incision. Both the principles of both the incisions are same. So initially you have a sclera, groove on the sclera about 1.5 to 2 millimeters away from the limbus, then start dissecting the sclera up and come up to the limbus. So when you are doing this dissection, please note the direction of the blade. It is kept parallel to the curvature of the sclera. But once you reach the limbus, you know that the curvature changes, the cornea goes little upwards. So accordingly, you have to do the dissection, and you have to change the direction of the blade also. And when you are about to enter the entry chamber, the blade has to be parallel to the iris. So this way, if you have a dissection, you can have a perfect tunnel, and you can prepare a very well internal corneal wall. So this is a short video, initial scleral grooving. I have made a very small groove, and I'm doing a little extension with a crescent knife. Now, when you are dissecting into the matter of the sclera, the knife should be seen throughout the dissection in a semi-transparent way. This is to ensure that you are halfway in the scleral thickness. You're not going very deep also, and you're not going superficial also. Once you reach the limbus, change the direction of dissection a little bit, and then do about 1.5 millimeter dissection into the cornea. Dr. Arti, how much time I got?
So we can continue for 5 minutes. We are
Okay, I'll skip this video. I'll skip this also. Yeah, now there is another popular incision which has been popularized by Dr. Michael Blumenthal from Israel. This is the incision with scleral pocket. Some noise is coming from someone's microphone. Yeah. Now, in the Blumenthal's incision, he uses the anterior chamber maintainer. Anterior chamber maintainer is a small cannula which has been tangentially introduced into the anterior chamber. This is connected to the IV tubing to a bottle, the BSS bottle, which is kept approximately at a height of 60 centimeters. So this is a positive pressure technique wherein you're operating throughout the surgery with approximately 30 millimeters of mercury. It's a high pressure surgery, but this high pressure is in the anterior chamber, and which is pushing the posterior segment back, but you are working with a normal architecture, and most of the times viscoelastics are not needed. The incision is a straight central one, which is about 4 millimeter horizontal, and then there are radial extensions. These radial extensions don't take part into astigmatism. You do the scleral dissection in a normal way, but in the Blumenthal's dissection, you have got extra additional dissection, which is called as the scleral pocket. So maybe for this additional dissection, you have to use the curved part of the crescent blade. The advantage of the scleral pocket is that you are doing the expression of the nucleus with under the pressure of the BSS coming from the anterior chamber maintainer. So this BSS, you have to put some thin plastic glide, which is called as sheets glide, depress the posterior lip of the sclera, so that because of the hydrostatic pressure, the nucleus glides and gets trapped into the tunnel. So you have to have this extra curved dissection here so that the nucleus doesn't slip back. And so this is the advantage of making the scleral pocket. And then you can take out the nucleus either full way or fragmented way. I skip these videos also because I'm going to show one more video. Yeah, this is a video of the Blumenthal technique. I'll show only the dissection part. Now here I'm making a total curve dissection. I generally prefer starting the dissection without making any scleral groove. That has got particular advantages, but if one is not used to that, you can have an initial scleral groove and do the dissection. See to it that the blade is seen throughout the surgery in a semi-transparent way. Have an additional dissection on both the ends, which is called as the scleral pockets. Then have 1 millimeter intracorneal dissection. Another advantage of AC maintainer is that even if there is bleeding through the tunnel, it cannot enter. Nothing can enter the entry chamber. Even our drug cannot enter entry chamber. The topical anesthetic cannot enter entry chamber. And there is continuous flow of fluid from inside out. Now the nucleus is already prolapsed here into the entry chamber through the side port. Now for the delivery, after the nuclear prolapse, I open up the internal incision. This dissection also is a curvilinear parallel to the limbus. Do the cutting when you are going from outside ends. Please note that the blood is not entering. There is bleeding throughout. Sheets glide has been placed and the nucleus is now trapped into the scleral tunnel. So this is the place where nucleus is trapped because of the scleral pockets. And then gently it is delivered out. If it gets stuck into the scleral tunnel, you can do the dissection of the nucleus or chipping of the nucleus with a sharp needle within the tunnel and take out the nucleus. Now, when you're doing the construction of the tunnels, you have to see to it that the dissection is done halfway in the sclera so that you have got a very good support here. So at least half thickness of the sclera should be remaining. If the dissection is too deep, the internal part of the sclera is very thin. It cannot support the wound properly. And then you get what is called as the scleral disinsertion. If the dissection is very superior, then sometimes you come out causing early and causing a scleral buttonholing. Now, this is a small video of scleral buttonholing. I'm starting the dissection from left to right, and suddenly here a buttonhole has been created and the knife has come out. Now, most of the times when the buttonhole is created, for a beginner, he should abandon the incision and start a new dissection at a new place. But here what I have done, I've gone to the left side and again started creating a new tunnel under the buttonhole part. So there is a double tunnel. Now here I'm going into the deeper part and creating a new tunnel. So now I'm swiping the repositor through the proper tunnel, and this is the repositor coming out of the scleral tunnel. So this way you can proceed for the surgery in case of a scleral buttonholing. If you are going very deep, there will be premature entry and then lot of iris prolapse will be there during the surgery. Now this is a case, suddenly there is a premature entry here. The knife may be sharp and this is a premature entry here. So throughout the surgery, there was a troublesome prolapse of the iris. Now the nucleus is getting delayed, but again, along with the nucleus, some part of the iris has got prolapsed here. So you have to keep repositing the iris or take the iris along with the IOL inside. Always use sharp instruments, otherwise sometimes you can tear off the descemet membrane. Unnecessarily, you can cause a descemet membrane detachment and lot of complications in the cornea. When you are doing the dissection of the scleral tunnel, it has to be kept in mind that the globe is pressurized either with the AC maintainer or with the viscoelastic, so that in a stretched sclera, it is very easy to dissect the layers of the sclera than a hypotonous eye, wherein the sclera becomes wavy and the dissection in a proper plane is very difficult. And always when you're going sideways, keep in mind the curvature of the globes, because this is a wrong way of dissecting. If your hand moves totally horizontally, your dissection is not along with the curvature of the, this is the wrong way the blade is moving. So the blade also should keep, your hand should keep pronating and supinating to some extent, and you can have a dissection along with the sclera. I'll skip this part also, because this you can find in many books. If at all the wound is not watertight, you have to suture the wound, and there are various techniques by which the wound can be sutured. So have patience, have perseverance. There is always light at the other end of the tunnel. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. You've covered so many points in such a short time, and I really don't think that it was a basic talk. So if anybody has any question, you can unmute yourself and ask. There is a question in the chat box which I see, which has been discussed. But if you can discuss it further, sir. What of capsular excess in a calcified capsule? This has been asked by Dr. Mustafa from Nigeria. So it was, I think, related to the capsular excess. So, Ramani sir, would you like to take that question?
Dr. Ravindra also has answered in the chat.
Ravindra is showing a video.
Dr. Aarti, can I just share a 10-second
Sure,
video?
Sure, sir.
Yeah, this is, as I can introduce to you, that is a capsular calcification. It's got a central, this is a small one. The principle is going to be same. This capsule and adherent is adherent to the cortex, and there's a bridge that goes across. So if I start here, then I'll be stuck with handling it right in the beginning. What I thought was, now that's a direct limbal tunnel which enters the sclera. There's no congenital flap. I've filled with visco, deepen the chamber, people dilates a little bit, tunnel floor entry so that the visco doesn't sleep. I'm going to enter there, and I'm going to avoid this area, do rhexis, and which reaches here. Many times I have to stop here. It doesn't cut through. So, and that occasion here it's cutting through, and I could, you can see the so you can see on the capsule itself, there is a tail-like fibrotic ring. Fortunately, I could cut it, and then it goes around, and then I could get a very nice rhexis in this. But what happens if I can't cross this? So I'll stop here, enlarge the tunnel to my comfort levels, and cut this with Vanna scissors, and then again go beyond it and do it. If the rhexis, if the scar is a big scar occupying it, I'll try to go to peripheral, fold the scar itself, and many times I can continue. I'll do rhexis as much as it is possible, and the balance amount I would use a Vannas or micro scissors, the scissors to cut it and shape. You don't have to have a small rhexis, you can have a big rhexis in SICS. Big rhexis is not a taboo in SICS, and you can go and do a big rhexis, but actually doing a big rhexis is more difficult because zonular apparatus, it tends to run to the periphery because of the peripheral slope towards the equator. Always creating a big rhexis is difficult, but with the skills SICS surgeon has maintained, this again, I'm committed to put a multifocal lens. I could comfortably put a multifocal lens centered to the visual axis in this particular patient. So that's my small note on the calcification of anterior capsule.
So thank you so much, sir, for showing that video, and it was really quick of you to get that video for, like, let's say, video answer for the question. We have another question from Dr. Mohammed. I think Dr. Mohammed, you can unmute yourself and ask this question. He wants to know, should rhexis for all forms of cataract? So
yeah. Hello, sir, Dr. Ravindra, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I think your question, you wanted to extend the question? Hello, I think.
No, he is
muted.
there.
Fine.
Dr. Mohammed, you can ask your question again, please.
Internet issue.
We have some net issues.
Yeah. Envelope.
Dr. Mohammed, thanks for the question. Rhexis is. He's trying to. Fine. If that is the question,
No, did you get my question, sir?
Yes.
My question, sir. Should RECIST be performed for all forms of cataracts? Isn't there room for linear capsulotomy or envelope capsulotomy?
Yes, see, the beauty of SICS is that they're compatible with any kind of rexes. Imagine you cannot, as I saw in the first video, I purposefully put that video, there was a runoff, but I could trim it and restart the rexes, and that's the beauty of this thing. The why any rexes is all right, compatible. Any kind of capsulotomy is compatible. Linear. I used to practice a capsulotomy where I used to make a puncture, go to the adjacent, the adherent capsule and join it to the puncture. So it's almost like I don't think I can pick up a video. I used to make an initial puncture, go to the adjacent intact capsule and make a puncture and join it to the adjacent like that. So you can get a very good rexis, make a very large rexis that way. And
MS is not asking that. He's asking whether it is necessary to do rexis in all cases. I think they are not doing regularly. That is what I assume. I may be wrong. If they are not doing, they must try to do rexis because that is the best way to go. And then till we master these rexis, then you can do this, small capsule they are doing. But I think once you have seen these rexis being done regularly, it will be encourage you to go tilt your balance towards rexis, not stick with the whatever you are feeling comfortable.
Yes,
Okay.
I think that
You're right, sir.
Sahu has answered it very adequately. Any kind of rexis is all right. It's not that you have to do a rexis. Any kind of capsulotomy is fine for SICS, but the first preference is always for various reasons. I can enumerate them. Various reasons. Always learn and promote yourself to rexis in case you're not doing it. And number two is rexis keeps the lens well centered. There can be a decentered lens, especially when you're putting a premium lenses like a toric lens or a multifocal lens, and even negative aspheric lens should be well centered to the corneal vertex or to the visual axis. This is only possible when you have done a good rexis. But in case you can't do a rexis, do any capsulotomy, but try to put the lens within the capsular bag. Even if you have done a linear capsulotomy or envelope capsulotomy, see that the lens remains in the capsular bag. The decentration is going to be much lesser. If you put one haptic in the capsular bag, other haptic in the sulcus, then there will be huge decentration of the lens. So that can be visually handicapping to the patient.
Thank you very much, sir.
So any other comment or any other question from any of you?
Okay, one more from me.
Go on, sir.
This planned, I think this will be for Dr. I can't pronounce Boramani. Yes, Boramani. The planned global training for the ISM-ICS is planning. The challenge, one of the challenges we do have in terms of training that Dr. Umar raised, we will need to have a simulator to really benefit from that global training. We need to have simulators really to really benefit maximally.
See, we are having a webinar with HMS, help me see, on 31st of this month.
Okay.
So we will share that thing with you, and we are planning. So globally, we are planning to extend that facility all over, starting from India. So we will just see how soon we can reach there. And after this talk, also we'll be discussing with the management in HMS, and they have a plan, and they have told me how they want to go. But after this thing, I will discuss in detail how fast we can go. Thank you very much.
This webinar will be only on simulator training.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir Boramani.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
So, any other comment before we close the session, sir?
Yes.
I want to ask my Sierra Leonean colleague, Dr. Williams?
Dr. Williams is there.
John.
Dr. John.
So John Matia is
Yes,
also there.
yes, Dr. Williams is here. Good
Yeah.
evening.
Good evening. Please,
Good evening.
I lost contact with Dr. Matthew Jusuvandi. I think he's the chairman for your country now.
Yes, yes, he is.
Yes. Can I? Is he on here?
He was present.
Okay.
Oh,
It's all right.
then
I saw his photo. I don't know whether he was present, but you projected his photo. I don't know. But
He
anything,
sent me a
can I
message
get
this
in?
afternoon that, hello, he sent me a message this afternoon that he wasn't going to be present.
Okay. All right.
So he sent his apologies for that. He has some urgent matters he wanted to attend to.
Your link, how you get your Tripam Blue from India,
From OLAB.
from Orolab.
do one thing, Arthi, please take note of their difficulties,
Yes, sir.
and we will negotiate with the medical companies here and see how best they can be helped. Take all the difficulties they are facing regarding medicine supply, medicine instrument supply, and all everything, and then
Yes.
we will become we'll work between them and the company to facilitate this. Okay.
All right.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Hello? Hello?
So now,
Yeah.
yes, Dr. John.
Yes, permit me to greet my former classmate, DO classmate, Dr. Mutala, Umar.
Good to see
I'm
you,
pleased to
John.
see you.
Yeah.
I'm pleased to see you after many years. Since 2008,
Yeah.
we trained between 2006 to 2008 in Nigeria.
Yeah.
I'm
Auntie
happy to
has
see
brought
you.
us together.
Yeah, I think we can connect on Facebook after here. I see your beards are getting gray now. Eh?
Yeah, don't worry.
So I'm very happy that I was able to connect you. So Dr.
Hello.
John actually has been to Nigeria. He has done his residency from Ghana, and that's where I met him. We wrote ICU exam together. I still remember. So I am very glad that we all were able to connect. And Buramani sir, I think we should form academic group for all the countries together, wherein we can have more academic discussions.
Correct. Sure.
Yeah, so we will see what can be done for it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, thank you everybody.
Thank you.
So let me just quickly give the vote of thanks before we end this session. Yes, Dr.
Ravindra
wants to comment something.
When we are hunting friends on this forum, I would like to request, do you know, I had 3 classmates in AIMS, All India Institute of Medical Sciences. We had residents coming from Nigeria and Tanzania. I had Dr. Nora. I don't know where is he. I've lost touch with him. Dr. Sangave is another doctor. And Dr. Ali Matanda. They were brilliant Nigerian and Tanzanian doctors who studied with me. I'd be very glad if I can trace them somewhere.
Sir, I will try to I'll try to help you to connect to them. We have with us Dr. Achikbu, if I'm not pronouncing it wrongly. She is vice chairman of the Nigeria chapter, and she's indicated that she wants to comment something.
Sure.
Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you very much. This is a very interesting webinar, and I want to thank ISMCIS for having us join this large family. Dr. Damu and Sierra Leonean counterparts have all mentioned the challenges that we have and recommendations on how we can be helped. So I'm just thinking the global training, it's supposed to be an individualized thing. The trainees are supposed to join a webinar at the time of a training. Is that what it's supposed to be?
No, it's not like that. Yeah, Dr.
Yeah.
Sahu, you want to
No, you carry on.
It is not a webinar type. It is a particular tutorial. You have to complete the course in a stipulated time. You have to join that as per your time schedule and go through all the course, answer the quiz after every talk or maybe after every section. You have to answer the quiz. Accordingly, the marking also will be done. And then at the end of the month, on particular dates, you can interact with all the speakers. So this way you have to complete the course and you'll get a certification also.
They have to be become members, which is free now for them.
Yeah. For you all, membership also is free. Dr. Aarti will give a link. And once you are a member, the course also is free.
For 6 months, we are keeping it free.
Yeah, the membership is free till September end for non-Indian ophthalmologists.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. And we're going to be able to access the link for membership.
Dr. Aarti will put it in a group.
About hundreds of teachers, of very high-standing teachers who will be speaking on this platform. So you will have an advantage of knowing everything. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Then we will work out some kind of training program, and we'll facilitate your students here, and we may send doctors to train you there. So depends upon how you people respond to it. We'll plan out something.
Yeah, that actually brings me to another question, because I've been nursing this idea to have some sort of regional training place where you can have people come around and then learn, some sort of high volume place. I don't know if this is part of what you do. If you can.
Plans are already
a place like that.
Yeah, Boraman.
Yeah, plans are already there, but everything will start after the pandemic gets over.
Sorry, say that again, please.
Let the corona subside from everywhere. We'll have all these physical trainings. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
But plans are already there. Plans are already there.
Okay. Okay then. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Achikbu, I am very happy that I see another female in this webinar. And Dr. Mohammed, I actually complained him that there is no female in your team and how is it possible? And then I saw your name. So I am grateful to you that you've spoken today. I reassure both the countries, Nigeria and Sierra Leone, that it is going to be a great journey. It is going to help the further generation of ophthalmologists coming up in the different part of the world. And I have recently joined Dr. Sahu sir and Dr. Boramani sir, but I am reassuring you that it's going to be a wonderful journey. So,
great.
So I think we have reached the end of our session, and we have exhausted the time as well, but it was a wonderful discussion. So I would like to thank all the office bearers of Nigeria and Sierra Leone and Team India as well. Dr. Sahu sir, Dr. Boramani sir, Dr. Parikshit sir, Dr. Satanshu Mathu sir, Dr. Bhattacharya sir, Dr. Srinivas Joshi sir, and special thanks to Dr. M.S. Ravindra sir for his wonderful teaching videos. So I hope we will meet again soon on one of the webinars, and I'm sure very soon we will meet physically as well.
So you wanted to conclude with a female on the other side, huh? That is very strategic.
You just see the smile on my face now.
Only 2 females are seen, but are very strong.
So nice. So we see. Look for it. Thank you, all of you. Huh? Thank you.
Thank you.
So much.
Good night, all of
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay, last but not the least, I would like to thank Team Entod for all the technical support. I'm really sorry, I just forgot to mention that.
Entod has been
Mr.
hosting
Raman
all our.
Yes, Mr. Raman and team, thank you so much for being always with us.
And Entod is a global player from India, Indian multinational, and they have been hosting all our webinars.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So soon we'll have the installation ceremony of Tanzania as well towards the month end. And I would like to have one of the speakers from Nigeria and Sierra Leone as well. So we'll discuss on it more. Yeah. Thank you for now.
Okay, then.
Good night from my end.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.